if you are a web developer, web designer, or mobile app designer, or any kind of other designer, even print designers, you might have heard about the name grids. So whenever you design something, I think the most important part of any design is three things. Number one is typography, number two is colors, and number three is grid or grid system. So if you master these three elements, if you put them together or you create these three into some harmony, your design is going to rock. So it is going to, it will be the most awesome design. It will be flowing in all of different devices seamlessly, and it will look great. So today I'm going to share with you how I use grids on mobiles, tablets, and web design. And also I will share with you a grid system library which is free. This is a great resource and I use it. And this is from KK, I think it is from KK UI Store, Grid System Library. And I will link this over here. This is gumroad.com and it is free, but I think you need to put 0 over here, put 0 and I want it. So name a fair price, just put 0 and I want this, and you are going to download it. So I normally use most of the time in my projects, I use these grids, or sometimes I create my own custom grids. So these grids are right now available in Photoshop, Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD, and Adobe Illustrator. So you don't need to worry. If you use any of these tools, you can use this grid system. So let me show you two of my projects. One is going to be my mobile app design in Adobe XD, and one is going to be my recent project landing page design. You might have seen it already. So I'm going to share with you both the designs and how actually I use grid systems in both of them. So let's see first one. Okay, now here you can see here I have this design in Photoshop, and I designed this landing page using all these different grids. So these grid systems, they are different in each device. So the first thing you are going to notice is this is desktop HD on the leftmost side. This is tablet device, and on the right side, the mobile view. So there are actually two things you need to keep in mind. Number one is the margins. So you can see over here on this desktop HD, we have a lot of margin, 164 pixels on both sides. Then on tablet device, you can see that as soon as our device has less screen space, we are going to squeeze those margins, and it is just almost 40 pixels, or sometimes I use 32 pixels, sometimes I use 24 pixels. It's up to you. But I think it should be above 24 pixels or something about 20 or 30. Then you can see here on the right side where we have the mobile. Let me zoom in. Here we have the mobile view, and here you can see, because we have very less space on mobile, so this margin on both sides. So actually the margin is going to be on the both sides. So if you don't know about grids, just keep in mind that on the right and left, the space is actually margins, and in between these are two columns, and in between the space is actually the gutter. So let me show you how actually I use them. So I have seen a lot of my students that they get confused on using these grids. So first thing is first. So you can see over here, right now this logo, it is actually taking two columns, so including this gutter. So right now we are not using any margins. Margins are going to be there. We are aligning our elements, design elements, with these grids. So they are going to have a very strong left alignment. You can see over here everything is aligned to this left invisible line. So on the right you can see this is aligned to this. You get the idea. Okay, Now in this section, you can see here we have allocated three columns for this one. So you can see it is not necessary that you have to make your design, whatever you design element, to be the size of these three columns. You can use two columns and some gutter So whenever you step into this gutter, you are going to include the third column. So it means that you are using actually third column. So if you see over here, you can see I am using 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and one gutter of the next column. So whenever my designer is going to code, he is going to actually allocate this much space for these design elements, and he is going to add some padding on the left. So this much is going to be 68 or 64 pixels is going to be the padding. So what he will try to do is he will try to enclose all this form into a divider or div. If you don't have coding background, what I actually mean is that they are going to keep it in a box of this width, and then they are going to move the whole box on the right, because you can see here this alignment and this middle alignment is according to this one. So they are going to use blocks of different widths. So first they are going to create a block of this one, this width. Then they are going to create another block, which is going to be, let me show you. Actually, I am not able to represent it. I think we should use some boxes like these. So let's remove this. So something like this will happen. Okay. So something like that. Let's use the opacity to 50% because I want you to get this idea. This is very important. This is very, very important. I have seen a lot of my students, they actually don't get the idea how the grids have been used, or how different designers they use or coders they use these grids. So I'm going to change its color to this one and let's make it 50%. Okay, so something like this. So something like this will happen. Okay, so our coders, they are going to use these two blocks like that. So you need to get the idea. If you are a designer, you need to get the idea and the pain of the coder, how they are actually going to code this. So you need to keep that in mind. Also, you can see that here I actually used these 5 columns, but I left the space over here. So it is actually the creative use. I am leaving some space, a lot of margin on the left side, and used only this space to allocate my forms. Similarly over here, you can see I'm actually using, from the coding point of view, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. But what actually my content width is, my content is actually up to over here. Okay, so over here. So actually my content is taking this much space. So you get the idea. I am actually making blocks, so you get the idea of what I am actually doing. So, but on the other hand, if you look at from the coder's point of view, he is actually going to code something like this. So they are actually going to build a block, outer block of this color. Let me use this color. So now I'm going to use 50%, something like this. So you can see these gray boxes, they are actually the outer containers, and the inner containers will be something like that. Sometimes you don't need inner containers, like this text, they are going to align on the left, and if you specify a width, that they are going to align to this. So okay, so one more thing which I have seen a lot of designers do is, don't try to limit yourself with these grid lines or grids. Okay, so these columns. So if you look at this, let me hide. So let me zoom in. Okay, so if you look at this section over here, you can see this white background, it is extending outside of these 12 columns. So why I actually did it, it is that our content is going to be inside these 12 columns, but if you have some backgrounds or you want to give some creative effect, you want to move out of the frame, you want to move, you can say you want to move out of the boundaries to make some impacts that this section is different. Similarly, if you look at this section, you can see I have allocated 3 columns for these, and I'm using 4 items like that. But you can see in the end, the last one, I just placed it in the middle. I'm not, bound by these columns that I just need to align it on the left in these 3 columns. So this is how I did it. One more thing, let me show you how actually we change our content when we switch to another view. So you can see over here, if you look closely, we have this product. Let me just make these a little bit dim. Oops. So here I have the tablet, mobile view, desktop view. Let's make it 20%. Let's make it 10%. Okay, so if you look at over here, you can see I have this heading, this write content. We have 4 columns for this write content, and rest of them 8 columns for this video. So here you can see it is on desktop. Now if I go to my tablet view, you can see now we have less space. So what I did is, you can see all this stuff is in this direction. So heading in the middle, image on the left, and learn more on the right. So you need to keep that in mind. Don't try to, fix yourself that this layout is going to be the same on each device. Try to use your head. Just replace them with some of the places. Just divide the layout. You can see now I am using 3 columns for this button and 3 columns for this image. And this is actually center aligned and taking the whole space. Okay. So this is how actually we use our grids and columns when we design something. So you can see over here at the bottom, I am using these 3 actually. So right now you can see I'm using some, you can say some spice, adding some spice to my design, which is I actually move these away from this alignment just to make some emphasis. And you can see everything else is aligned to this. Our products and this BBB certified logo, they are aligned with this left column, but this text and the links, these links, they are not aligned. So similarly over here, you can see this text is using all the rest of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So this is how I actually use different layouts and these grids and guides. Now on mobile screens like this one, you can see I'm just using 2 columns because in mobiles mostly we have very less space. So mostly our layout will be vertical. So everything will be moving down, and you can see over here. So actually, if you look at this white area, you can see I've extended it to the borders because we have very less space. So it's, you can say it's wise to use the whole background. So you can see similarly, we have reduced our margins on the left and right. So this is actually how we use our grids on a mobile app view. If you haven't noticed, you can see that this section where we have different logos of companies, I have reduced the sizes, and actually over here we have very too much space, so I'm using a lot. Here I have reduced the number of these and condensed them into 2 columns or sometimes 3, but here we have just 1. So I actually try to reduce the number of you can say number of these company logos. So we don't want the user to scroll like 10 times to reach the bottom of this page. We just want to show them that these companies are our customers. So this lesson is getting too long, so I am going to shift to another lesson, next one, where I'm going to show you my mobile app screen, which I am working right now, and how I am laying out different things. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. I'm always available. But I think that this concept was too, you can say, too important to understand for developers and for designers, both of them. So let's move on to the next lesson, where I'm going to show you the mobile app screens and different grids and guides. Okay, so let's move on to the next lesson.